Okay, I'm at job 25407. This is Sunset Square in Bellingham. So I just met with Kimco Realty and Connor with Let's Pave. And this video is going to be specifically about the concrete for right now. Okay, so we've got two situations here. One is trying to work around this door and what this door is connected to. We go do this concrete. The other thing is over here having to create the path of travel first and then designing everything else outside of it. Okay, so let me talk about this concrete removal and replacement for ADA compliance. Okay, starting from approximately, I think it's here, we're going to take all this out, but we don't have to put it back in as exposed aggregate. We could just do a broom finish on it, okay? But we'll end up saw cutting here, over to there, coming up to here, and then going all the way up to the window. And then all this concrete is going to get taken out. That iron is going to get adjusted by, I think, about 1.5 inches, maybe, or maybe less than 1 inch. And then the concrete ends right here at this joint and comes down. So we're taking out this whole area here from right there. All of this has to come out. We're going to put in a new ramp. The ramp's going to be similar, but we have to put a 5x5 landing right here. And then we got to bring the ramp up to this location right here, right in this area, which is kind of a funky angle. As you can see, we'll be able to get close up here. We might have to turn this a little bit in order to get the landing to be right here. Okay, but we have to bring this landing right up to this point. And then from here, we got to bring this all the way into this doorway. Okay, but here's one of the challenges. It's the only way in and out of this place. And they say they can't close it. We have to come up with a creative way to keep half of this open. So they said you can do two things. And I said the one option was not a possibility, and that is to create a doorway inside this window. I'm like, we're not a general contractor that comes in and busts out windows and creates new doors and then puts back windows. So he said, well, the only other thing you could do is do this half at a time, wall this off right here while you're trying to create this portion of the walkway. He says it's okay if there's a joint right in the middle, even if it's only a tool joint. He said it'd be fine, but we'll have to have an expansion joint in the middle of this walkway if we can only do half at a time. Okay, so we either try to do this half at a time, or he said if we can get a hold of the mix plant. This closes at 6 o'clock. Let's see. Well, I take that back. Oh no, that's right. Sunday through Saturday at 6 p.m. So don't pay attention to this. This closes at 6. So he said, if you're able to get the mix later in the day, and then at about 6 o'clock, pour this in, then we would have all night for this to cure. So that's one option, but I don't know if we're even able to do that. Otherwise, we'll have to break this up into two parts, and that is pour one half of the door and then pour the other half. So we bring this ramp up, we create a landing, we bring this over, and either pour half at a time, do this half, and then do this half on the next go around, or we could pour all of this and then pour all of this out here in the front, and then take this over and do as much as we can here, and then leave a walkway that goes that direction, and then they can go over that direction. That's a possibility. Okay, we have to be able to provide some sort of wheelchair access though. So if we're closing this down here, that means we're gonna have to let wheelchair access go probably down to there. Okay, the other situation is the guy from Kimco said these doors were pinned into the concrete after the concrete was poured. So I spoke to Connor at Let's Pave and said, hey man, we don't install doors here, and I'm not going to be responsible for installing a door after the concrete goes in. So he's going to try to figure that portion out. All right. One thing to make note of too is you see these are like 4x4 grid patterns here. They want to do the 4x4 pattern in as many areas as possible. We don't have to do the ramp like that. We can pour the ramp separately and create our own design, so it definitely defines the concrete ramp coming down. So it'll make it obvious of where the ramp is actually at, where the landing is at, and where it comes over. Okay, he said we could do that. He asked, could we do a 6-inch cut out in front here so we don't have to mess with this door? We could do it and shift the landing out farther from the door, but the problem is we're still going to have the slope here at the door, which I believe that slope right now is 2.4%. So it's over 2% as you come out of the door, the threshold. And I believe that strip has to be ADA compliant once they enter into the doorway. Okay, so just wanted to bring that up. This is for discussion. Okay, that's that area. The other thing too, when we go to remove this sidewalk, I found out that this is curb and gutter. I believe it's curb and gutter, and they did a thin layer of asphalt over the top. They overlaid right over the top of the gutter. Okay, you can kind of see as you get down into here, you can see some of the gutter that's underneath, and you can kind of see this light pattern. See that line right there? You can kind of see the lighter color all the way down, and I believe that's because the asphalt is sitting on top of the curb and gutter. All right, here's the other situation here. We're doing all concrete removal here too, and we're doing it almost all the way down to that doorway. The good part about this, and I said it in my last video, is that we can close this door, and they've got a door over there and a door over here. We aren't removing the concrete all the way to that door. We're coming short of that door about 4 feet. So they've got that option and an option over there to enter in and out. And we can close this sucker down, okay? As far as the concrete goes on the removal, we have to come out either to here or potentially here. The drawings show that we have to come out, I believe, as far as this location. But he said if we're able to make our transitions and only go to this joint here, do that. But we'll have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, like I said, we're either going to have to saw cut and go all the way out to here, which is 2 panels over from the ramp, but we stop right here, or we go to this one right here. It all depends on the concrete crew. But we cut this, and then from this location here, we take a left, and we're gonna have to remove these panels right here. We're gonna have to remove this small panel here. So you've got a panel there, panel there, panel there, panel there that'll have to be removed. We're raising that iron there about 1.25 inches, I think is what it says on the drawings. 1.25 inches. And in the drawings, it says we're supposed to remove these panels as well, okay? If we have to remove these, then let's remove them. If we don't have to remove these, and we're able to stop right here and go over and be able to make our transitions once we raise this lid up, then he says that's okay, and we won't have to do this. If we do have to do this, then we have to put back existing and make these 2x2 panels. He said you could just do tool joints on it. You don't have to do expansion joints. Mind you, all this concrete has that welded wire fabric in it, like a wire mesh. It's like a 6 by 6 inch by 6 inch squares on those. We have to put a wire mesh in this, okay? All right, here's the other thing too. These concrete bollards, they can stay where they're at. And they said if we're raising this asphalt or this concrete up, which we are, he says you can just pour right around it. And if this gets buried, it gets buried, and that's okay. If it gets buried, if it buries the planter here too, that's fine. We don't have to touch that planter, but we will have to work around it and adjust this concrete. This concrete goes up almost 7 inches out to here. Okay. The curb and gutter, once we remove the curb and gutter, we don't have to put back curb and gutter. We can put the thickened edge on the sidewalk, so it'll all be monolithic when we go to do this. But I believe there is rebar on the thickened edge per the detail. All right, so I asked them, how do we need to pour this? And they said, well, they want to keep these 4x4 panels design all the way through, because that's what it is. It's about 4x4 panels. We can do tool joints. We don't have to do saw cut joints. Well, he said you could saw cut joints, but we don't have to put expansion joints in a bunch of areas. We can just do like it shows, and for the most part, do saw cut joints or like tool joints, okay? This is one expansion joint right here. But other than that, it just continues down as saw cut joints, all right? So that's one thing. He said it'd be nice to define the path of travel first. So the design of the concrete does not have to be 4x4 panels. They want this ramp to come up. You know, once we make a 5x5 landing, we got to take it up, create a landing up here once we know that we're at the appropriate slope. Okay, we make our landing, and then from here we want to make a straight shot all the way over to here. So they said it'd be nice if we could form and pour the ramp and the path of travel first. That path of travel is going to go right through here to the right of this column, and then once we're here, we need to be ADA compliant as far as a landing goes. Okay, so we'll have to make sure that this gets raised up. It's going to come up quite a bit. Like I said, it's 7 inches from the doorway out to here. You're going to see this elevation's up about 7 inches. Okay, so that means we're going to start filling concrete in from underneath there to make this more ADA compliant in this area. But that ramp will have a landing, and then a landing, and then up here it's going to have a landing right about in this area. So if once we pour this, he says you can do whatever design you want to as far as where the joints go, but then when we go to pour everything else around it, go back to doing the 4x4 squares. And then eventually we'll end down here 8 feet away from this column, so it's going to end up going right here, and that's where people will be able to use that door, and we'll be able to close this down. I asked if we could rip all of this out and then caution tape it off, put cones up and all that. He said, yep, that's fine, and they'll just keep this closed until we're done pouring the concrete. So we've got 4 days on this job. It'd be nice if we could turn it to 3 days, but if we can't, you know, I understand. But we definitely can rip out as much as we want to rip out in these areas. Keep in mind, though, that we do need to provide at least one ramp, I think. Whether it's a temporary ramp that goes up that we create, or we leave one of these open, we do have to provide some sort of ADA access up onto the sidewalk. Okay. Over here, we got the same situation on the doors, where it looks like it's in the concrete, like the concrete was poured and then these doors were bolted down to it. He doesn't know for sure, but he's saying that is a possibility. On the concrete right here, where do we end? We believe that we can leave this panel. We think we can leave this panel at the corner and just come down and then take out that one, take out this one, and then take out this one. We're hoping that we don't have to do this back here on the back side. If it looks like we can make our transition from the doorway to here, then we don't have to do that back there. I got that approval from Kimco Realty. And then he said we could just go out in front of this planter box. Okay? And then eventually come around here, raise this lid up 1.25 inches because of all the transitions here. Take out those panels, take out this panel, and then, like I said earlier, shoot over there and either stop at this corner or have to stop at this corner and go all the way out. Okay, I think that's it for now. That's all the new information I got.